Hey guys, it's James. It's late at night. I'm just hanging out in the studio. Everybody's asleep. I thought I would give you a quick tour of my Christmas single, which is called Hey Ho, Nobody Home, because it's a real departure for me, and I thought it'd be nice to get inside the mix and show you what's going on. So, first of all, let's hear a bit of the track and you can decide for yourself if this sounds like a typical James Hill track. Here we go.
Hey ho, nobody home. Ain't nor drink nor money have I none. Yet will I be merry. Yet will I be merry. Ain't nor drink nor money have I none. Yet will I be merry. Yet will I be merry.
Yeah, so it's not a typical thing for me to have these like driving electronic drums and thick harmonized vocal. There's in some ways not really much going on here. There's just voice, ukulele, synth, and drum machine. So there's only four things. The song itself is a really old melody. It talks about this practice from the Middle Ages, which is called solin, the practice of giving out soul cakes, which are kind of like little, almost like shortbread, just sort of round cakes that look like somebody squashed a hot cross bun kind of thing. And they were typically to celebrate, dead souls. And some people say it's the beginning of trick-or-treating, going door to door, asking for soul cakes and saying prayers to bless the dead. And somehow this has become, at least in our imaginations, tied to Christmas and giving the leftover soul cakes to the poor. Hopefully they haven't been sitting around since October, but maybe, I don't know. It's all a historical blur what this song actually means. But I love the melody. And I love the Peter, Paul, and Mary version of this. I love the Sting version of this. And I've been messing around with this melody for years. And I thought this year was the time to do something about it. So let me just play you the melody on its own, and then we'll build the mix around.
Hey ho, nobody home. Meat nor drink nor money have I none. Yet will I be merry. Hey,
And it just repeats like that. But it's a round, so you layer that melody on top of itself to get this harmony.
hey ho,
I'll sing the harmony.
nobody home.
Hey
Nor
ho,
drink nor money have
nobody
I none.
home.
Yet
Meat nor
will
drink
I
nor
be
money have I none.
merry.
Yet will I be merry.
Nor
Hey, ho.
drink.
So the two parts just kind of tumble over one another to create this harmony. But where it got really interesting was Anne and I were just sitting here working on mixes one day and working on new material, Christmas songs and whatnot. And she said, why don't you, like very randomly, she's like, why don't you run it through a harmonizer pedal? Why don't you get the harmonizer pedal and put both parts into 3-part harmony? Like, do a 3-part harmony version of the first voice and then bring in the round also in 3-part harmony and just see what happens. And we just started messing around with this. And what happened was that as those 3-part harmony the layers combined, we started getting all these really rich, unexpected chords coming out. And that's when my eyebrows just like, went up, and I thought, this is something worth exploring. So here's what happens if you just hear the melody with the added harmony parts. It would sound like this.
Hey ho, nobody home. Meat nor drink nor
And there are some songs in your life that you just remember where you were when you heard them for the first time. And for me, one of those songs is Imogen Heap's Hide and Seek. And funny enough, I heard it first at Christmas time. And so that a cappella, like electronically layered vocal sound, to me just always feels like desolate and cold and lonely, but in sort of a like in sort of a warm way. It's so contradictory. But I first heard it on a long car ride through the snow up to my brother-in-law's place in Ontario. And that landscape of just blowing snow at night with the headlights and you can't really see, and then this Imogen Heap song comes on and it's all a cappella with these layered vocals. Like, I'll never forget that. It was, I just, my heart stopped. I was just like, what is this sound? Never heard it before. So there's definitely a callback to that moment here. And here's what happens when we start layering the second part, which is also now sort of electronically, split into three parts.
Hey, ho, nobody home.
And the second part.
Ain't nor drink nor money that I know. Yet will I be merry. Yet will I be merry. Ain't nor drink nor money that I know. Yet will I be merry. Yet will.
You hear that? There's, I think there's like a major 7 chord happening there. Just really unexpected, kind of jazzy harmony starts coming out when you take a 3-part vocal and then you layer it on top of another 3-part vocal, and I tried different sort of how should I say it, different sort of interval structures on each one of them, and this was the only one that really worked for me. It's like there's a combination lock that once you know it unlocks these beautiful harmonies, almost like the Da Vinci Code, of this melody. It only works when you do the intervals in just a certain way, and Anne and I just sort of lucked into it. Like, it was one of the first combinations of intervals that we tried. And then when we layered that, we got these beautiful, jazzy, thick-sounding harmonies. But then when we kept going, we thought, oh, surely we'll find more that are like that are even better. We started digging and trying different combinations, and it just didn't work. So sometimes that first inspiration is just the lucky strike. So and then the other thing you're hearing is some ukulele, of course. The ukulele part is also a round, so we get this sound. It's just this little descending scale, but then it overlaps onto itself and sort of tumbles down the stairs a little bit. That's all it is, and it comes in from time to time and just sort of takes the track from being too much like in the box, where there's no sort of acoustic feeling to it, and just that peppering in of the ukulele every once in a while, I think it just warms up the feeling of the whole thing. And then there's this, like, I think really fun drum part, which is me playing a drum machine with my fingers. So it's not a programmed drum sequence. It's just like whatever I felt like in that moment. And that's where this ba 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 boom figure comes from. The drum machine part sounds like this. It's just like kind of an improvised part on the drum machine pads. that obviously gives it like a modern feeling. Those drums, bap, 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 bap. It's just, they become sort of this recurring motif. And when you watch the video that I put together using archival Christmas newsreels from like the 50s and 60s, you'll see this jitter effect where every time it goes bap, 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 the the visual kind of stutters in that moment and sort of takes you out of the moment and makes you realize that you're watching something that's being manipulated. And finally, there's the synth track. The synth is just like a monosynth, meaning that you can only play one note at a time. It's a very small little unit monosynth that you can't play a chord on it. You can just play one note at a time, but it makes the most incredible range of sounds. So you get stuff like this. And this just kind of floats in the background. Very ambient. There's a rhythm to it, but it's not the rhythm of the track, so it's totally out of time with the drums. No attempt to synchronize with the rhythm of the track. Yeah, one of my favorite moments in the synth part is, I think it's in one of the verses here, where you get this strange kind of distorted beep of a sound that is totally unmusical. It sounds like a warning bell in a elevator or something. And it just sort of, in the middle of all this sort of melodic, harmonic stuff, you just get this thing that goes as if some kind of, some kind of alarm is going off. There it is. Listen, and it comes again. I don't know why I like that so much. So you've got this constant like push and pull between this like organic sounding voice and ukulele and this very inorganic, robotic, textural stuff that's going on as well. When you put it all together and listen for that little alarm, it would sound like this.
The soul.
You hear that?
Please goodness is a soul cake. An apple, a pear, a plum, a cherry. Any good thing to make a song. One for Peter, two for Paul, three for him who made us all. Bless the master of this house.
And then there's these sort of like choir parts that come in toward the end there. And in the video, I was lucky enough to stumble across some beautiful footage of a boys' choir, and it sort of comes in there. Anyway, there's lots to explore, even though the track is only 4 layers deep. There's just, vocals, ukulele, synth, and drum machine. But there's a lot to it, and I just wanted to break it down for you a little bit and just show you step by step what you're hearing, because it is a departure for me, which I'm thrilled with. I mean, I love doing stuff that's unexpected, keeping the ukulele in there because that's always been my instrument of choice, but expanding the palette of what I of sounds that I can work with. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you check out the video as well. And I wish you all Merry Christmas and safe, happy holiday. Bye for now.
The soul cake. Please goodness is a soul cake. An apple,